Regardless of what you think this West Virginia football team's going to look like this upcoming season, wins and losses, I think there are going to be some players that shock everyone. Let's talk about them.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up? Welcome back in, guys. My name's Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, baby. We're talking about the Mountaineers again today, and of course, excited to do that. Thanks for joining in. Going to be brought to you by FanDuel, of course. And right now on FanDuel, with bet $5, you'll get $150 back in bonus bets. That's if you win on that first $5 bet. Make sure you do it now, and not now. Actually, do it yesterday when it comes to FanDuel. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. Thank you guys for being patient today. I had a little bit of an issue. I've been having issues all day with my internet here. I don't know what's going on. It keeps kicking off for like 5 seconds at a time, and then it comes right back on. I don't know what's going on here. So, but anyways, hopefully it's, I can't wait all day, right? So eventually at some point you just have to say Ep it, and you just have to go for it, like Rocky would say. So that's what we're hoping happens, and hopefully we don't have any big interruptions or anything like that. But if it does, I just wanted you to be aware of exactly what's going on. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of go over this. We're going to do some offensive predictions. We're going to look at the first half of the schedule too. I think that'll be fun. We may do some defensive ones as well. Just depends on how quick I get through this. You just never know how, with as much as I gab, you never know, right? So I think the best place to start, obviously, going to be on offense anyway. It's my favorite side of the ball. I don't know about you guys. What's up, Carson? Good to see you, my dude. Glad to see you in here, man. I messaged you. Just saying. All right. Let's get over to what I was just talking about, man. So a little bit of predictions, right? Just some stuff I think is going to be fun. So on the offensive side of the ball, right? I want to start on the offensive line. And I have a prediction on, I think, who the top 7 or 8 guys are. You're never going to get to 5 starters. I don't think. It's going to be impossible to predict what that looks like. But I can tell you who the 7. I'll tell you who the top 7 is, in my opinion, anyways. And I could be wrong, right? But I'm just basing this off of what little information we have been given, right? So I think the top 7 probably sound a little bit like this. If you're looking at from the right side over to the left side or vice versa, it really doesn't matter. Overall, I think you've got a guy. You got Tykees Crawford. You're going to have Landon Livingston. You're going to have Carson Lee. You're going to have Walter Young-Bear, Nick Cray, right? Those guys are obviously really important to this offensive line and better be. Those guys are going to play a lot of snaps. It's not even a question. Obviously, Kimo Makaniole seems to be one of the big stars from early on camp. We've heard a lot about him. So I'm expecting him to play big snaps, obviously for us this year. Malik Agbo is another guy. I think those are, the main dudes I would be paying attention to early. And there may be another guy or two around here somewhere that I looked over. But generally speaking, I think that is, at the end of the day, be the main factors on the offensive line. And if you're asking me, in my opinion, I think by the season's end, and I told you guys this, I had him on the show. I've been really high on Carson, whether or not he's in the chat. It really doesn't matter. I've been high on Carson Lee since the get-go. I say it all the time. He's played over 1,000 snaps. You don't have very many guys on this offensive line that can say that. He is one of those guys. I do think he will make his way into the starting lineup, whether that's early or later in the season. I can't really say. I know Landon Livingston had a little bit of an edge going into camp. And outside of that, I have no clue what's transpired since then, because to be totally honest, I'll just be totally honest. Like, I have really just a tiny read on this thing. Like it's not been what I would consider easy with Rich Rodriguez to get information this time around. As like with Neil Brown, you kind of knew, right? He was honest about pretty much what everybody was up to, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I think the offensive line is an offensive line. And here's my prediction, though. On the offensive line, I think it's going to be a really productive unit, no matter what five are out there. I think they've got 7 or 8 guys that can really go, and I wouldn't be shocked to see this offensive line create a 1,000-yard plus rusher this year and some. So that's something I really think is going to happen. And on the pass protection side of things, I think they're going to be good there too. When you look at stats all across the board, man, every one of these dudes have been good pass protectors at times in their careers. So I wouldn't be shocked to see any of these guys really be productive on both sides of that. You know, Rich Rodriguez spoke today about um, the O line not getting enough push during the scrimmage, things like that. Well, I think it's a pretty good barometer considering that I have no idea why this is happening. I'm telling you, man, I have no idea why this is happening. This is wild, man. I'm sorry, guys. I hopefully not too many of you guys left, but we'll try to make do with this. But yeah, unfortunately, my router, I need to go get a new router. Apparently, this one's jacked, absolutely jacked. So we'll see if it holds up for the rest of this episode. But I'm going to go out today and get another one. At least I think that's what's going on. Let me know if I'm back in the screen. It also could be my cable company. This isn't the first time that they've um, been working on the cable around in my area, and things have been all jacked up. So we'll see. Let's move on though. Are we back yet? Here's what we're gonna do.
Watch this.
Watch what I do now.
All right. Let's try it like this. This is going to be weird. I'm going to take my headphones off for this. All right. We're going to turn the Wi Fi off, first of all. All right. I don't know, man. We're going to try. Let's see. Can you guys see me again? I might as well just give up on it, huh? Wild, man. It says I'm back on too, though.
I don't know, guys. We're gonna try it again like this. Let's go to break. We'll come right back and we'll try to finish this episode. Really frustrated. And this episode of Lockdown West Virginia going to be brought to you by none other than, of course, 5 Hour Energy and FanDuel, guys. And we're talking about FanDuel. We're talking about a spot that can get you fueled up right. And FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting, whether you're in baseball under the lights or golf on the green or high-stakes soccer action. If you've been following the action, why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, guys. I'm sorry. I don't feel like this is something I can control. It is extremely frustrating for me. Um, you know, I'm trying my best. So I'm just gonna keep rolling through. If it freezes again, I'm cutting the show off. I can't keep dealing with that. You know what I mean? It's too much of a frustration. I've already had to go to the hospital today and everything. So it's like I just don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? So all right. So let's move on to some other stuff that I wanted to get into, obviously. Let's get on to the running backs. This is a room that I think to start camp we had to be pretty excited about. Um, I think there's been some attrition, obviously, in the room. No surprise there. Jaheim White and Dior Hubbard have been mainstays the entire camp. We hear Ty Edwards obviously not eligible, which is unfortunate. Jalen Knighton is also ineligible for now. Sincere Bowers, Clay Ash, Cannon Katzer have all been dinged up at different times. But Sincere Bowers and Cannon Katzer both came back as of yesterday and today. Not sure about Clay Ash. And Rich Rod didn't mention anything about him that I know of. So I've got some definite predictions for this room. And let me just tell you guys, this room here is going to be one of, if not the most exciting rooms in all the Big 12. I believe that with all my whole heart. I really do. When you look at this running back room, man, it is deep. It is talented. Even Rich Rodriguez admits that. He mentioned, obviously the running backs in the press conference today, and was definitely, I think, complimentary of, Sincere Bowers, the guy that I've been a big proponent of, as you guys know. I think if he stays healthy, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when he breaks out. Even with Jaheim White on the roster, I still think Sincere Bowers can offer something to this team. You guys know I feel that way. And by the way, I just want to say, can I just say it again today? Because it feels pretty good to say. I was on Bowers way early. You guys got to admit, you got to give me a little bit of props here, right? Like I was on him way early before it was cool to be on him. I just feel like, just want to point that out. And who knows, maybe he performs, maybe he doesn't. But if Jalen Knighton were playing, I would really like his chances to make some plays. But I think at the end of the day, Jaheim White is going to have a monster year. I really do. I would not be surprised to look up and see him 1,200 yards or better. I just personally believe that, I believe that he's going to be a 1,200-yard guy. I've thought about it over and over and over again this offseason. Rich Rodriguez said something yesterday that vindicated me, by the way. Again, did you guys hear Rich Rodriguez mention yesterday that he wishes that, Jaheim White could get through without tapping his helmet? You remember, guys, I told you about a week ago, my biggest concern for Jaheim White and the only concern I have for him is, can he be a guy that can run 30 yards, run 20 yards, run 15 yards, run 10 yards, run 5 yards, all in the same series and not tap out? That's how you become elite in Rich Rod's offense, is you don't need to come out of the game, right? Well, unfortunately, for whatever reason, under Neil Brown, I don't think he was able to do that. Now, they weren't conditioned to do that either. So factor that in. But I do think Jaheim White is going to be at least a 1,200-yard rusher. And I think Dior Hubbard's going to have some nice yards. But if you had to ask me my opinion, I think Sincere Bowers is going to eventually surpass whoever is at number 2, unless Ty Edwards is healthy. Ty Edwards is the only other guy on the roster that I feel like if he's healthy, he's right there with Sincere Bowers for me as far as the kind of damage he can do outside of Jaheim White. So, those are two guys. But at the end of the day, like I said, imagine if Cannon Katzer comes on as well. Like, he's another guy, right, that I think has a lot of, he's got Power 4 talent. He's already had experience at the Power 4 level at Washington State before they bumped back down to G5. Clay Ash played at IMG Academy, for goodness sakes. Sincere Bowers, obviously, we know what he can do. Jalen Knight started at Miami and then SMU last year on a really good SMU team. And then you got Dior Hubbard, who has been a really, really steady guy. If you're making me hold my feet to the fire, I'm going to go with Sincere. It's a tough one, but I'm going to go with Sincere Bowers as the guy I think finishes second to Jaheim White in overall yards. And I'm talking running and passing yards, unless Ty Edwards gets eligible. Then it gets muddy. I have no clue then at that point who to choose behind Jaheim White. It could get weird really quick. We could see, and I wouldn't be shocked to see 3 or 4 guys with we might have a guy with 500 yards behind Jaheim White. We might have another guy with 200 or 300 yards. We're going to run the rock a lot early and often when you're going to do it. Don't be shocked. All right, so that's the running back room. What about tight ends, man? We haven't talked about the tight ends probably as much on this show as I would like to, because I feel like those guys are a bit overlooked this year. And, there's a lot of youth in the room. There's also only 1 or 2 guys that you can look at and say, yeah, that's a pass catching wide receiver. And that is Grayson Barnes, right? And obviously, well, maybe there's 3 guys if you consider Ryan Ward. He can definitely catch one. He can catch him a little bit. But Greg Genros is obviously a big 6'6", 230, ton of athleticism. We just hope that he can come on and be the thing that we've always expected and hoped he could be the last couple of years. If that doesn't happen, I do think Grayson Barnes ends up probably leading that room at the end of the day in receiving. And then I think Jacob Barrick is going to be the guy you see on the field more than anybody else. Jacob Barrick will probably be your starter at tight end because we run the football, right? So I think he'll be the guy for sure at tight end to start. Wouldn't be shocked to see more than a couple guys out there, probably him, any combination of these guys. But I think, Grayson Barnes is a guy. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get 30 balls or so, 35 balls maybe, for 400 yards this year. I think that's totally possible. And I do think that he's possible of, between 3 and 6 touchdowns as well, in my opinion. I don't think he's elite. I think he's he's a threat. You got to pay attention to him. And if he anything more than that, it's definitely gravy, man. I think Grayson Barnes is going to be a nice addition and somebody in the red zone we're going to have to watch out for. He's an athletic guy. He runs 4.7. He can move a little bit for his size. So definitely one to keep an eye on. And then obviously Ryan Ward, if he comes on, that changes the game a lot. He's a good player. I think he's more both. If Genros comes on, if he actually comes on, you're talking about a guy that he has NFL potential from an athleticism standpoint. Now, obviously, that NFL athleticism has to marry up and match up with so many different things from up here to just understanding football. So, I don't know if he's there yet or if he's going to get there, but let's talk about that too, or we'll have to wait and see. Wideouts, man, what do you say about that room there, man? You got Cam Vaughn, Jaden Bray, Gerard Bowie, Jarrell Williams, Justin Smith Brown, Christian Hamilton, Logan Ramper, Rodney Gallagher, Money Weaver, Preston Fox, Camden Pitchford, Cyrus Traw, Jordan McCants, and Tyshawn Dews. It's a huge room. It's got a ton of dudes in there. Obviously wide receiver number one is Cam Vaughn. It's not really a question at this point in time. I think Oron Singleton is going to have a major year as well. I honestly think you could make a case that our wide receiver room is as talented as our running backs room. Let's go to break really quick. We'll come right back. We'll finish up this offense, and then we'll get into the schedule. All right, guys, we are back here Locked On West Virginia. Thank you guys for sticking around through the turmoil of the early bit of this episode with my router and everything. Hopefully it doesn't do it again. I'm going to have to try to cut that out here right after the show. As a matter of fact, I may have to, I don't know what to do. I may just re-download this whole thing. At least the second half, right? So wide receiver, obviously, I think, if you're going to ask me to 1, 2, 3, who that is, Cam Vaughn's number one. Oron Singleton is probably number two overall receiver. And Jaden Bray is right there with him. It's hard for me to pick between the two. And then you got Gerard Bowie, who came out for a press conference yesterday. And then you look up at the West Virginia Twitter account, and he's making play after play after play. Like, it's wild, man. He is one heck of a player, though. I have a big feelings that he could probably come on a little bit for us. Jarrell Williams is somebody that we need to come on. He's been here for years now. He's a redshirt junior, the Saraland, Alabama product that I thought was going to be much better earlier. Hasn't really turned into that yet. And then you look at Justin Smith Brown, a guy that could push for that number 2 spot. I really believe that. He is a super athlete. He's a 4'4" guy. He's around 5'11", 6 feet tall. He's got decent size. He's a guy, man. He is a straight-up dude. We've watched his tape many times on the show. He can really go. And my sleeper pick is obviously Logan Ramper. You guys know I love Logan Ramper. He's 6'2", 220 pounds, and runs a 4.4 40. I thought he was 6'4", but I guess they were lying at Slippery Rock about his size, which is whatever. I still think he could be an absolute monster matchup nightmare for us. Rodney Gallagher obviously is a wild card. He's going to get a ton of snaps for sure. I think he's a guy that has put in the work. If he's ever going to flourish, it's going to be this year. If he's ever going to actually flourish for us, it's got to be now. He's been here a long time. He didn't have a really great quarterback to throw him the ball last year. Let's just be honest, and Garrett Green from a throwing standpoint. But at the same time, I think, hey, like if you're gonna bust out, now's the time. Preston Fox has kind of went through camp really quietly. Haven't heard a lot about him at all. That doesn't mean he's not going to contribute. He's going to play, and he's going to be in the rotation. They're going to play probably 10 guys. Yeah, I would be shocked. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you right now. They're going to play Singleton Jr. They're going to play Cam Vaughn. They're going to play Jaden Bray. They're going to play Bowie. They're going to play Brown. They're going to play Ramper. They're going to play Gallagher. They're going to play Weaver. They're going to play Fox. They're going to play McCants, some, I bet. Probably Traw a little bit. Cyrus Traw, man, can really run routes. Like, I don't know why he's not, maybe he's a little young, and that's the reason. But, I mean, I won't count him out. He can run the routes. So all those guys are going to get playing time, but who leads the group in receiving? I think it's Cam Vaughn. I think he'll do something like similar to last year at Jack State where he had close to 1,000 yards. I think he can do that at West Virginia. I don't know how much we're going to throw it. So that makes it difficult to kind of figure out. But, if we throw it anywhere near as much as they did last year, I think you could easily see a Cam Vaughn coming away with close to 1,000 yards receiving and being an all Big 12 player easily. I think from there, you've got several guys that are going to have him in that 500 to 700 yard range, possibly, like Oron Singleton Jr. I think Jaden Bray's possibly there. Justin Smith Brown could be there, and so could Logan Ramper. I have been honest on this show and that I don't think that Rodney Gallagher is a bad player at all. I just don't know if he's going to be as good as that high school billing he got, which was like he was supposed to be a superstar. He was supposed to be like a Cam Vaughn, right? And he just hasn't turned into that. Is anybody expecting him to be? I mean, anybody. Is anybody in here expecting Rodney Gallagher to be Cam Vaughn? And I hate to disrespect this kid. He's been so loyal. He's been such a great teammate. He works his butt off. We hear about great things about him. Like there's not many people on this team I respect more than Rodney Gallagher. But if I put my honest assessment and feelings out here, I just don't see him being a number one receiver. I hope to God, I've told you guys this multiple times. I don't root against any of these players. It doesn't matter to me who's good or not, right? Like, yeah, if I put a prediction on somebody, do I root for them hard? Yeah, but I root for the guys that I don't predict to be good too. I just want West Virginia to win. That's all I care about. I could give a shit whether my predictions are right or not. We'll all get up and talk about it the next day. We can make fun of me on camera, But yeah, I think Rodney Gallagher is a guy that maybe catches 20, 25 balls for us. But, I'm not expecting a big breakout season from him personally because of the talent in the room. And I don't even think that he may come out as a starter. It's possible. I think he's definitely in that running to be. But I don't see him holding off Oron Singleton all year. It would be rough. I mean, they play more than one slot sometimes, so it doesn't have to necessarily be that. And then we're hearing a lot about Armoni Weaver in camp. So, I certainly think that a lot of these dudes can be productive. Then Justin Smith Brown plays on the outside. So, don't have to worry about him. But as far as slots go, let me look at my list of slots because I want to make sure I got this right. Well, let's see. Does it not say it right here? No, it doesn't differentiate. I had a list of slots. I think it's like, obviously, I'm pretty sure. I know for sure that Rodney Gallagher is a slot, Armoni Weaver's a slot, Preston Fox can play slot, Cyrus Traw plays some slot. I mean, Cam Vaughn could play slot if you needed to, but Oron Singleton, I believe, will be the number one slot. I know I've showed you guys this tape before. If you're not familiar with Oron Singleton, get familiar. The kid can absolutely go. He can really go. If you go over to his X page with me here, we'll show you guys Oron Singleton. I'll show you why I'm so high on him. I've showed it before, but like the kid can, it's not – he is an absolute stud. Here he is here at the top of your screen. It's not great it's not great tape, but you get a grip for what he can do like up here. Watch him run. And I love that he had to beat – oh, no, he's in a slot. Duh. What am I talking about? Yeah, here he is in the slot. Nice play there. Love how he adjusted to the ball for sure. That's a nice little zoom in on it. Here you can see, I mean, he just moves at a different speed, Like he just moves so quick. His movements are so quick. Just a beautiful play, and then just splits both safeties. Hopefully one of our quarterbacks, I mean, if you've got a good quarterback right here to release that thing, he should be able to just keep going, but he had to slow down for the ball. Because he can really freaking run, man. That's why I say his route running is just so good. Like, I don't expect him to be – here's another thing, just get it in the slot. And, I mean, he can really scoot. Once you get the ball in his hands, he's a dangerous, dangerous receiver in a lot of different ways. And he does – and that's the thing, too. I think he'll be our starting kick returner. I think he'll probably be one of our starting punt returners, the whole nine. As you can see on that play was designed for him, right? So what do you got? You've got two guys that run off these two guys. You've got a linebacker mismatched on Oron Singleton. It's a great play call. You run these guys off. He bends it out. The linebacker's got to try to match him. It's not happening. See there? It's just not even close to happening. So these two guys run out, which clears open space for Oron Singleton, who just this is a Dana Holgerson concept. This is the kind of stuff that Holgs runs, which is what they call how they I don't know if you ever listened to it, but they just said they like to get to open grass, right? That's exactly what that is. They create space on the field for somebody, and that's it. And the thing is it's like do or die, because if you play up on one of these guys, if you got a fast wide receiver, you get beat over the top. If you play off like these guys do, by the time these routes are through and clear, you got this guy coming right off his ass right here for a wide open toss, and he's throwing it right about now. And now you got to try to tackle running or on Singleton in a phone booth, and you're lucky it's not 6. And then if you do decide to somehow stop him, you got to worry about him on kick and punt return as well. So Oron Singleton's the kind of guy that I think hasn't really shown his full potential yet. He's got number one ability. I believe that. I've said it all multiple times. He can go deep. He can run outside with the bet. He can put him on the outside too if he need to. He's not huge, but he can do it. He runs great routes, but I mean, it's really just his cut ability and his yards after the catch that make him so dangerous, along with kick and punt return like this. This is against Washington. You don't think they got some 4- and 5-star guys out there? And look at the quickness. That first step, really tough to catch him. Boom, he's moving. Boom, he's moving. Making 2 guys miss, making 3 guys miss, making 4 guys miss. He's so dangerous with it. I don't know how there's anybody on this team that can beat him out of this spot. I mean, Preston Fox is so reliable back there. So it just depends. Like if you're looking to return balls, then you got to put him back. If you're looking for somebody not to drop him, that's probably Preston Fox, because he's really good at that. Even when people run in his face, he doesn't drop it. Here's another great route. Look at him at the top of this route right here. Right about here, he breaks that thing off. Watch the cut he makes on this route right here. Just an elite route runner at times, man. I'm not saying he's always elite, but I mean, when you look at which he cuts in, boom. I mean, it totally spins that safety around right here. Corner or safety around. Watch him get totally flipped. Oh. And you can see he just moves at a different speed than other people do. So I really love the kid. I think he's going to make a major impact for West Virginia. I'm staking my claim on him now. It's kind of what this episode is, right? Is me putting my name on certain guys. Just like I did Sincere Bowers and running backs, or on Singleton's a guy you'll know on the wide receivers, in my opinion. Those are, if you're asking me offensive line, I'll give you 2. I think Carson Lee, Kimo Macanioli will be the 2 guys you probably know about offensive line-wise, although that's a way harder. I'll be honest, offensive line is the hardest position group for me to judge probably. So it's just my opinions, though. All right. One more thing to look at, and that is quarterbacks, obviously. I do think Nico Markle is going to start. I do. There was a time when I thought that Jalen Henderson was going to, and I backed off that for the last probably month and a half. It's not because I don't think he's talented enough at all. Has nothing to do with it. I just think Nico has earned the opportunity. I think that, based on everything we've seen, right? He's the first at the press conference. Every time you see him out on the field, he's number 1 in all the drills. Because even though that it may not be public, from what I understand, there's a depth chart everybody knows about every day. Like if you listen, like I was listening to a guy on the Texas podcast the other day, and he was explaining camp and how it works. Basically, how it works is not Texas, it was Nebraska. The way Nebraska was doing things right now is if in the running back room, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if one fumbles, he gets bumped back to 4th place, and that's how it is. And every time somebody fumbles, they get knocked back. That's how they were doing the running back spot. I mean, maybe they got 4 guys that are equal there. I don't know, but point is even though they may not say it, there's an idea of what the depth chart is every day after practice or every week after practice. Maybe they do it weekly at West Virginia. I'm not sure, but there is an idea of the depth chart that the players know about, which is why you see him going in certain order for things like Nico always leading. Lets me know he's kind of held on to this throughout. Now, that doesn't mean he's separated, but I would say that very, 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 very good point on Nico being a starter is by seeing what's on the field, right? It points to that. So, with that said, if Nico starts, I think he probably, I'm going to put out 2 scenarios here because I have my questions about Nico as a thrower. I don't question him as a runner at all, actually. Is he as fast as Jalen Henderson? No. Is he more physical? Yes. Does he have close to as much quickness? Yeah, it's close. But Jalen Henderson is top end faster. Maybe for this offense, that's not what we need. We don't have, here's the reason I think, one of the biggest reasons I think Nico will get the start too, is until Ty Edwards gets approved, hopefully he does, we just don't have a big running back. And so Nico may actually have to be that short yardage guy for us. Maybe that means that you start Jalen and you bring Nico in for packages like Tim Tebow was for the Florida Gators. I don't know. But I do think for now, I think that he'll be that in our short yardage situations. I think he'll be that. And I think he will be a very good runner. I wouldn't be surprised to see Nico Marchiol close in on. If he was I think Nico Marchiol can probably do something like probably 700 or 800 rushing yards, somewhere in there. If you're asking me, I think that's a very respectable number. Obviously, I've looked into this a lot today. I looked at, like if you look at some of the stuff that they've had in the past, guys like Nico, they've definitely been in that range. If our offensive line turns out to be elite, then that changes things. Now, I just don't know because I think individually we have the talent on offensive line. I just don't know if we have the mesh together yet. That's the thing. So we will find out, though. That's for sure. We will find out. Other than that, y'all, I don't have a whole lot left except the games. For now, I'm going to pick Nico. Obviously, if Jalen comes in, I think it changes our offense in a lot of ways, but we'll talk about that if we get there. For now, I think it's going to be Nico's team, Jaheim's team, until otherwise proven. Let's do the first 6 games really quick, and then we'll move on out of here. West Virginia beats Robert Morris. I think that's going to be a 40 or 50-point win. Ohio University, a lot of people says is going to be a tricky game. Let me pull this up. So, while it absolutely could be a tricky game, I mean, there's no doubt, especially if you look at what Ohio's done the last 3 years. The last 3 years, they've won 10 or more games this season. They had a roster last year that was probably pretty close to ours as far as talent. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing: they lost their coach, although they brought in the guy that's been there forever to kind of supplement in. Their first game is going to be against Rutgers, so we're going to know how good they are after week 1, right? If they beat Rutgers, then look out. If they lose to Rutgers, it's still definitely doesn't mean they can't beat us, but I think if we're not better than Rutgers, we got problems. I think Rutgers is supposed to be like 6-7 games this year. So if we're not at least as good as Rutgers, then we're probably going to be in that same boat, right? Or less. But yeah, I think West Virginia beats Robert Morris. I think we beat Ohio, even if it is maybe 10-point win. Maybe it's closer than it should be because we're just getting gelling, that whole thing. And I do think that it is a tad scary going up there. I will be at that game. And then you've got the backyard brawl. I've thought long and hard about this game. And Let me get back to us. You know, here's the thing about this game, man. There is some timing aspects to it, Jeff. Like you're saying, timing is everything. You know, obviously, this game being at night would be a big plus for us in for a lot of reasons. That's number one. Number two, I think at the end of the day, game day probably makes little to no difference on the outcome of the game. And it actually might even be worse for the I'd like to look at the stats on it. But when game day comes in, it's just an extra distraction, right? If you're talking about just on the field, game day can be a distraction. It's just the truth. That said, it can also be, I think we need game day to, just for that. Tony Caridi said it best. If they do this right and game day comes in, I do believe it can step us forward back close to where we were when we went to the Big 12. We're not quite there, obviously, and we won't be there this year unless we win a bunch of games. But, I think it can bring us back into the national conscious. Oh, there's West Virginia, and Rich Rodriguez is at the helm. They're taking off. To beat a Pitt team that, let's be honest, they're getting picked to win the ACC by some people. They've got a lot back off a team that really got embarrassed last year, the last 7 games of the year. They were really, really beat up and hurt those last 7 games, including their quarterback. When they were fully healthy, they went 7-0, right? And yes, they won a lot of close games to get there. But the truth's probably somewhere in the middle, right? They probably aren't as good as 7-0, and they're probably not as bad as 0-7. Let's be honest about it. Let's not just, I hate that mindset of, well, we just have to hate Pitt because they're Pitt. Let's actually break it down for a second, right? Let's actually look at it objectively just to see what's up. And with Pitt, it's let's just keep it real. I mean, they're pretty good. Des Reed's an elite running back, even though he's small in stature. I don't know about their offensive line. It's always average under Narduzzi. They got a quarterback that scares the shit out of me. I think Eli Holstein is, if he takes a step, is going to be a real problem. We could not sack him for anything last year. I mean, he shrugged off every single sack we could have got. Now, I do think we have better defensive players this year that can put him on his ass, and I think we have a defensive coordinator that could really confuse Cade Bell, but the offensive coordinator for Pitt. But at the same time, Cade Bell is a very good offensive coordinator, one of the best out there. He's like Dana was when he was young. He's that next wave of that. He's like Kolnicki, he's in that class of newer guys that are known as to be geniuses on. He was a really good hire for them OC wise. On defense, they returned 2 of the best linebackers we're going to face all year. They do. Kyle Lewis is one of the best linebackers in the country. He'd probably be one of the best in the Big 12, but not the best. He's that good. So they've got a lot, and they turned a lot of their secondary. They returned some of the D-line, and Pat Narduzzi recruits his ass off for D-line, and they only needed to go out and get 13 or 14 guys. So when you put all that together, this is going to be a tough game for us to win in the third game of a rebuild. Let's keep it real. I want to win that game so bad that I would probably trade any other 3 games for the win. I really probably would. But at the same time, I'm not walking into that thing thinking we're just so much better than Pitt. Not until I watch us play the first 2 games, especially. And even then, we're not going to know. So that game right there is everything to me. And I think Pitt comes in there as they got to be the favorite, especially if we're both 2-0. But at the end of the day, I have to think, last year was so bad for me. Losing that game 10 points in the last few minutes of the game like that, they come back and beat us. I won't be able to handle them beating us on 9-13 and 13-9. And then also getting a 3-1 against us instead of 2-2. There's no way. Like, this is like when we were in the Rich Rod years for them until 07 happened. Like, we were dominating the shit out of them, right? This is how that would feel. Like they're dominating. If they win this next game, they dominated our series. That's just the truth. And I don't know how I can live with that. Would have to, but you can't tell me it wouldn't be shit. So it's the most important game on our schedule for a lot of reasons. But at the same time, there's a whole, and if this is something I want to point out, even if we lose this game, there's still a lot to play for this team. And I think Rich Rod's got a really hard job that if they lose, it's going to be a huge downer, right? If they win, they're going to be on a huge high. And then you got to go out to Kansas. So it's like almost damned if you do, damned if you don't with this game. At the end of the day, I'm going to pick West Virginia to win that game until I'm going to pick us to win that game until the week of the game. Then I'm going to really reevaluate it and be honest about it. I might actually Pitt, on my show to win that game. If I really think we're going to lose to them, I will. I'm not just going to pick West Virginia. I just can't do that. That would be unfair to you guys, right? So, I'm with you, Jared. I would rather them be a good team as well. No doubt about it, man. But we need this one bad. And it's the thing. It's everything it means for us as a fan base. We need to win this game. We need to turn Rich Rodriguez and his everything that happened around to a little bit. It can't be done 100% with this one game. But man, the facelift it would give our program is literally I don't think it'd be quantified. It'd be that good for us. McAfee would be talking about it for the next 2 or 3 days. It gets talked about for the week leading up to it and the whole nine. So I'll pick us to win it for now. But 3-0 start's a dream scenario, obviously. Then you've got Kansas, Utah, and BYU, and this is where I think things kind of fall off. I'm going to pick us to go 1-2 here. I think Kansas, Utah, and BYU is a tough stretch. You got Kansas on the road, you got Utah at home, and you got BYU on the road. Slice it however you want. I just think we come out of this 1-2. I'm not going to be delusional and pick us to – my homer brain wants me to pick us to win every one of these. If you're going to pick me to win one, I'm going to choose Utah at home. And I'll choose the Kansas and BYU games for different reasons. BYU is absolutely stacked, guys. They got everybody back off a 10-win team. Don't let anybody tell you different. They lost their quarterback, but that's it. They got everything else back. They're more stacked than we were coming back off the 9 wins. So they've got everything back on defense. They got a bunch back on offense, except their quarterback, and McKay Hillstead's pretty good. I was just up there. As you guys know, trip went well. I think I've told a lot of you guys that. So I think BYU probably beats us in Kansas right after Pitt, guys. And we don't even get a bye week. It's September 30th to September 20th. So I think that game, you go from at home against Pitt, which likely might be game day, all the way to Kansas. Not a great look, but a 4-2 start would be a dream start for us, right? And you're still looking at you turn around, you got 3 really winnable games, right? So you're talking about the potential for a 5, 6, 7-2 start if you can just pull off the first 3 and get one of these next 3, because it's going to be brutal right here. Then you get UCF. We're hoping they're bad like usual. Then you get TCU. They should be about as good or right in our level. And then Houston should be as good or right about it. I mean, they're all coin flips. But if Rich Rodgers is going to come in here and take over like we think, we can't be even with these teams no more. Like, we got to start thinking like we used to think, where going to Rutgers or South Florida or UConn, same thing, right? Just different names. We're better. And it may not be this year, but get ready to start thinking that way again. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm so sorry the beginning of the show effed up. I doubt a lot of people will watch this video as a result. So might just have to come back and try to film something else now that seems to be fixed. Until then, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to make this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe, share if you're new around here, and definitely come back and see me sometime. I promise the internet will be better, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.